Hello everybody, how are you doing? It's Amanda. It's Saturday and I don't know what date it is. It must be around about the 15th or 16th, something like that. Haven't got my diary in front of me. And Metatron has asked me to come on and do a little bit more teaching on this subject of COVID-19. So I'm going to light a candle and we're going to get into the next downloads that I've received on this situation. It is a Saturday and I actually try and take the weekends off now because it's really important that we look after ourselves, including myself in this. And but this morning he said to me, can you do a little bit of extra overtime? And what he meant by that was that a lot of people are needing reassurance at the moment, and so therefore I'm being asked to step up a little bit to the plate in terms of delivering the messages that I am receiving from Spirit, not just from Metatron but from a number of beings. We're also going to be talking about some messages from Christ today in this video. And yeah, you know, he reminded me that at the end of the day, there's a lot of people being asked to step up a little bit at the moment. And it's the only way we're really going to be able to help each other at this time. So whoever you are, whatever you do, whether you're a shop worker, whether you're somebody working in the hospitals, the police, public services, care assistants, you know, whatever. It's just a shout out to the people that are going to be called to do a little bit more. And I'm being told that we will be given the strength that we need to for the times that we are in, okay? And to do it with a gracious heart, because we are built for these times is what I'm hearing. Okay, so I had a lovely walk in the woods this morning, and I've written some of the downloads down here, and I'm going to go through them point by point. I am assuming that you have watched the other, I think there are 3 other videos out there now, in terms of my teaching on this situation in our world. But, you know, long after coronavirus has gone, I feel as though a lot of the teaching that's coming through is going to be worth going back to and looking at. So I think there's just a big body of work coming through here in terms of what we're meant to learn through this whole experience that the world is going through. And I can't think of many things which has the ability to bring a whole world together, actually. So even though this is a challenging time, it's also a time where in many ways the world is contracting and feeling smaller, but we're all really appreciating that we are all one. So yeah, I'm just going to use some crystal oil here. Somebody sent me this little bottle of oil. I don't even know what's in it, but it smells good, so I'm going to put some onto myself. And let me tell you about the messages then. I will put the 3 videos that I have already done, by the way, in the description box below. And please, you know, if you want to do the work, do the work. If you don't, obviously don't. But I did say this morning on Facebook that these are times where whoever you're listening to, we are basically just simply the messengers, and it's for you to then take it forward and do it or don't do it. I had somebody the other day come on and sort of comment about the sprays, about, you know, well, they're not going to work, are they? And I sort of said to this lady, and I said, have you actually watched any of the material that I've put out explaining why I'm even talking about the sprays at this time? And they hadn't. So, you know, you really have. It's just a case of doing the work. Right, let's get to it then. Where to start? Okay, one thing that strikes me, one thing that I'm being shown by Metatron, is that even though this is very much a worldwide problem, the way that individual countries are going about trying to deal with it is very, very different, very different. And I'm not a great mathematician, but I do remember at school doing averages and mean testing. And what he's showing me is that if you looked at all of the different individual countries and how they are responding to this crisis in our midst, and arrived at the average mean, which in many ways is his way of talking about the middle path again, you would actually arrive at the right answer in terms of how we are supposed to be dealing with this, including the sort of decisions that are probably best for our world at the moment, made by our leaders. Because if you think about the middle way again, and this average or this mean that Metatron's talking about, on one extreme we've got China, a very totalitarian state that was able to basically just bring in very, very stringent measures and, you know, probably lock people up and impose things against people's will to contain the virus. And then we've got other countries that are much more lax. And then we've got others that are sort of in the middle. I have to say, without getting too political, but it's hard not to, I feel as though the UK, where I am at the moment, is very much almost like the other end of the spectrum at the moment. Probably not the only country, but, you know, it strikes me that the UK response is currently, as I'm making this video, very different from the responses that are being put up in other places. And so I will give an example of a couple of things here. And watching me, you may not know what the UK policy is right now. But the UK policy is basically to encourage or stand back and observe until the virus has basically affected 60% of the population, so that we develop what's called herd immunity. Okay, herd immunity. There are, as I make this, no closures of schools or public places, no ban on large public gatherings, although I think that is going to change within the week. And there is no testing of the population. I think you get tested for the virus if you end up at hospital, but certainly there's no facility if I suddenly now have a temperature for me to go down into my local town and be tested. And I think the World Health Organization are actually criticising the UK's stance, but that is the stance. So it's like one end of the spectrum. You've also got China. If I then take the example of testing for the virus, here, as I say, it's hard to get tested. There is no facility for widespread testing, and there's no plan to bring that in. You are supposed to ring a number, which is 111 in the UK, and they give you guidance. But yet I'm noticing in America, there seems to be a complete panic and a lot of criticism over President Trump's decision. Well, no, not decision, but there's just a lot of criticism in terms of why are we not able to be tested? And I was watching the news last night, and they were just showing these testing stations being set up all over the place. And from my perspective, I'm looking at that, and I'm hearing Metatron's words about the answer lies in getting towards the mean or the average response. And what we're doing is we're veering between extremes. So in one country, it's almost like there's this panic rush to test as many people as possible. And then across the pond, we're sitting here and it's like, well, you know, no one's even talking about testing. So it's just, I just find that interesting more than anything. So definitely the middle path is the way for countries to go in terms of the response that they need to take to this crisis in our midst. You can also apply that, for example, to borders or no borders. Okay, so noticed again in the news that New Zealand have just been employing some very stringent controls I'm not commenting whether it's good or bad. I'm just commenting on the difference between nations. And in New Zealand, I'm reading that anybody that's arriving from obviously outside of New Zealand is being asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. Well, you know, here in the UK, even as of last week or a few days ago, you could fly in from Italy and just walk out, you know, into the community, no questions asked. There was one guy who's like a taxi driver, an Uber driver. He was going to go straight back to work, having just come in from one of the most infected places. So it's like, what is the right policy here? To be completely laissez-faire and relaxed about the whole thing, or to literally put us all into lockdown? Again, somehow, and I'm not sitting here as the expert in terms of having all the answers, but I'm just being told it's the middle way. So which countries or which leaders at the moment are adopting the middle way? That's where we need to be steering towards. Because what Metatron is saying here is not that what we're going through as a world at the moment is going to be repeating itself every couple of years or every 5 years, but he's saying that when all this is done and dusted, basically, and the pandemic is over, an enormous number of lessons are going to have been learnt from it for future scenarios if they were to ever play out again. And so it's really important that somebody somewhere is actually looking at this middle road, okay, this average mean response. So that's the first thing. The next thing that came through is, again, I'm noticing that, I'll give you a song. I'll give you a song. Okay, I always give you a song. So the song that I got given today by Metatron it's a brilliant song for our times. And I haven't heard this one for a long time. It didn't come on the radio. He just dropped it into my head. So go and listen to the words of Labi Siffre, Something Inside So Strong. Something inside so strong, you know, it's a great song. Something Inside So Strong by Labi Siffre. That is a message from Metatron for all of us at this time as well, which is that there is something inside us so strong that is actually able to cope and is able to go above and beyond and is able to be a better version of ourselves, so that we can let go of our own self-interests and greed and actually think about our fellow man that might actually live next door to us, as well as in a far-off land, okay? So that song was given. I'm noticing one of you wrote a comment where you were saying that you'd been in some supermarket and some youngster came by in total panic, and I think you'd said something to them just to calm them down, which is brilliant. You know, we should all be doing that if we see somebody that's very stressed. But my observation just here, but I'm interested to hear what you're saying as well, is that I am noticing, and I'm a mother of youngsters, okay? I've got teenagers, older teenagers and younger teenagers, and I'm aware of their friendship groups and all of that. I'm noticing no panic whatsoever with regard to the kids at all. I'm just not seeing the panic, which is good, because I'm being shown animals and I'm being shown children as being, as they always are, great teachers for the times that we're in, that we can learn a lot from actually watching how the children are responding and how animals are responding. Well, you know, I've got an animal in my house, and all Bella is concerned about is what Bella is always concerned about, which is she going to go and get a walk, and is her dinner bowl full yet or not? You know, that's all that's going through Bella's mind 99% of the time, although I know she's also a great healer as well. But she is demonstrating, and a lot of the animals are demonstrating, just this, the whole world might be going into panic mode, you know, and people behaving in a ridiculous way. And I'll come back to that in a moment because I'm talking about the supermarkets. But the animals aren't. The children aren't, okay? It's the grown-ups that are, you know? So actually it leads to the question, who is actually leading who? Who are actually the wise ones in our midst, okay? And I'm being very firmly shown the animals and the children, and also a lot of elders as well. Again, I am never going to be a teacher that's going to be dismissing people's fears on this, because I know some elderly people, as I've discussed in my other 3 videos, have an absolute right to be concerned, and they need our support, and they need our love, and they need our compassion at this time. But I'm also noticing, and I've seen it on the comments, you know, on these videos, that a lot of older people are saying, it's okay, you know, we've lived through worse. We will we will cope with this. We will rise to the challenge. My mum today, you know, I just dropped some stuff into my mum, and I said to her, I said, I better not kiss you, mum, just in case, because nobody knows. And she said, no, that's fine. And she said, well, you know, ultimately probably lots of us are going to get it. She said, but, you know, all I'm hoping for is I don't get it too severely. And that's her attitude, okay? And I think that's a good attitude to have. So I'm just noticing, you know, a lot of the elders, a lot of the children, a lot of the animals are holding the light, and I'm just wanting to honour that. I'm really wanting to honour that, because I feel as though this virus is actually showing us who we are. It's showing us who we are. There's a lot of talk in, you know, society, there's a lot of talk in spiritual circles about, you know, love and light and being that and holding that. But yet the proof, I always say the proof is in the pudding. The proof is always in the pudding. Can you actually do that in a situation where you are out of your comfort zone? And being out of your comfort zone can be about many different things. But right now, through our world, we are being given the opportunity to show who we really are. And, you know, again, if you look at the craziness that's going on in the supermarkets and some of the shops, not all of the supermarkets and not all of the shops. I have to say that I heard locally here that people were queuing to get into a particular supermarket today to go and get their loo roll, you know, at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, you know, oh no, I won't even say anything, but, you know, the places I'm going to, yeah, the stocks are a little bit low, but no one's fighting over anything. And if they were fighting, I would walk away from it. You know, I am not going to go down in history as somebody who's fighting over toilet paper or fighting over anything. Christ as an energy, when I was thinking about this and the way that people are behaving in terms of hoarding items over and above just some extras that I think is advisable at this time. And I called that about 3 weeks ago. I talked about that on my Facebook page, and I said that Metatron had told us to get some extra supplies in. And that's exactly what I did as well. I've got some extra supplies in of the basics, but it's all stuff that we will eat anyway. But what I haven't done is sort of taken it to such a degree that I'm actually taking away food from other people who maybe can only afford to go shopping once a week. You know, I haven't stripped the shelves bare. I've just got a couple of extras every time I've gone shopping. And built it up over a number of weeks, and that's the way we should be doing it, and that is a good thing to do. But it's when people take it to excess, and when they're taking it to excess, they are depriving somebody else of something that they actually might need. I was in the supermarket, I did see one person actually, they had something like 35 bottles of hand wash in their trolley. And I just thought, how selfish. You know, you don't need those 35 bottles of hand wash. You might need 2, you know, go and put the other 43 back on the shelves. But I obviously didn't say anything. Yeah, the virus is showing who we actually are. And what Christ was saying, I got that message that he gave. And I think he might have given this to his disciples when he was about to ascend. And it's that saying from him, which he says, love each other as I have loved you. Love each other as I have loved you. And into that, there is nothing about but. You know, there are exceptions to that. That is just love each other as I have loved you, which was unconditionally. Christ was able to show us what unconditional love looks like in a human body. And that actually it is possible. It's hard to do all of the time, but it is possible to do it some of the time. And even if we are striving to show unconditional love to our fellow man some of the time at the moment, then the times when we are showing it are going to be making a difference, okay? So love each other as I have loved you, I think should almost be a mantra that we've got sort of stuck onto our foreheads at the moment, or our palms, just to remind ourselves of that very, very important fact. And yeah, going back to this thing about greed and excess and taking from others who actually need it more than you do. I won't say who this is, but it's a shout out to somebody who probably will be watching this video, and she's a friend of mine. She lives in the States, and she said that she had bought some extra hand wash, I think it was, and she'd bought herself a couple of masks. I'm going to come back to masks in a moment. So I'm getting pins and needles. She'd bought herself a couple of masks a couple of weeks ago and some extra hand wash. And then she was with somebody who's actually working on the front line, I think as a nurse or something like that. And this woman can't get hold of them, you know, but she's actually treating people, or potentially about to treat people who are going to be sick. And so my friend gave this lady her masks. And I think that is beautiful. I think it's really beautiful. And because it's giving to the one who needs it the most. It's giving to the person who needed it more than you did. Because I also know that this particular person actually knew Michael Jackson. Okay, knew Michael Jackson. I was sitting thinking about what she did there and what she gave away. And I suddenly felt Michael Jackson's energy. And as you know, I've been saying, I've channeled him many times, but haven't felt him around for quite a long time, quite a few months, for various reasons. But he's been coming back in more and more over the last few days. Anyway, this morning Michael popped in and he showed me himself with the mask. Because if you remember, Michael used to go around with a mask quite a lot of the time. We won't go into the reasons of why he did that, but he just showed me himself. He was like, do you remember? I used to wear a mask. And I said, yeah. I said, Michael, what is this? What's the guidance we can give people with regard to masks then? Because personally, this is just me. Okay, this is just me, Amanda, saying this. I have no intention whatsoever of going out wearing a mask, but equally, I'm not commuting through a major city. I'm just in my local town. If I was ill, I would obviously keep myself inside. I'm not going to be exposing myself to other people if I'm unwell. But I'm certainly not going to be wearing a mask walking around the streets in fear of what I might potentially be breathing in. If I did anything, I might just wear one of my pretty scarves that you see me wear all the time, and I might just put that up a little bit towards my nose. But that's the extent of it. I'm not going to be wearing a mask unless things really escalated. I have no plans to anyway. Let's put it that way. But so I said to Michael, yeah, so masks. What do you want to say about masks? He's just showing me this, and he said, well, has everybody forgotten the armour of God? And I've done videos on the armour of God, of course. And the armour of God is the helmet of salvation and awakening, the belt of truth, the sword, or I can't remember in what order it is now, feet that walk with the gospel, breastplate of righteousness, sword of truth, shield of faith. That's what it is, I think. But he said, why can't people just take that now to the next level? Which is if God can provide you with things such as shields of faith and belts of truth, well, he can also give you a mask. A mask. I'm going to ask what the word is that goes with mask. I did hear a word that went with it straight away, and I'm doubting it, which maybe I shouldn't doubt it. Maybe I should just spit it out. I heard the mask of indifference. That's what he said. And I think what he means by that is that the mask is indifferent to any germ that's out there. It's not giving it power. It's not trying to call it in. It's just sort of like, okay, well, thank you. He's explaining now. This is Michael. He's saying that indifference means that it's not in your reality. Okay, it's not in your reality, so that you can walk out with this energetic mask over your mouth, over your nose, if that's what you need to do to make yourself feel safe. And I'm seeing it hooked up at the ears, although, you know, if you need protection around your ears, you could do that as well. But basically it's the nose and the mouth, okay, hooked over here. You imagine that you're wearing this mask. And it's a mask of indifference, because what it basically is doing is it's walking out, and it's like he's saying it's you hold an attitude of this cannot get to me. You know, it's almost like this cannot get to me. This is not my reality. This is not something that I am going to buy into. This is not something that I need to fear. Okay, remember that all of these things are defense mechanisms. And that's what a defense does. Defense puts a shield up and says, no, you're not, you know, you're not going to trouble me. You're not going to interfere with my energy. It's the thing about indifference. No, I'm indifferent to that. Okay. Not that you don't care about what's going on out there, just in terms of my physical body, my energy. I don't resonate with that. I'm not resonating with that virus. It's not the same thing as saying it doesn't exist, because it does exist. It's saying I'm not giving it power. So even if you get it, you are not buying into the potential catastrophe, you know, that it could potentially be if you read the media. And to explain what I'm saying here, I'm going to show you 3 paintings. And I was wondering how to weave these in, but actually it feels like it's now. Which is that, as you know, you've seen me hold up this painting already, I believe, okay? This painting is the one that Jayne Tricker did, and it is channeled artwork from Archangel Metatron. It is on the spray that we've brought out, which is our version of Thieves Oil. It's not quite the same as Thieves Oil. It's got our own blend, but you could easily get Thieves Oil yourself, or you could make up your own blend. You don't have to be buying ours. But this is our version, okay? And we've called it Meta Pirate Antiviral Master Spray. It's another shield, okay? It's another thing just to help. It's another thing to support you through these times. So this painting goes on to the spray, okay? That's what it looks like. The point is that this painting was one of 3, okay? And this one is the one that holds the healing codes. So if you think about anything that is trying to lower you, and in this case we're talking about something that's trying to lower our immunity, it's a virus, then that can be supported by many different modalities, by sound. For example, I've actually got my crystal bowl here, which I might play in a moment. Let me put this so I remember to do it. Sound can help, colour, essential oils, all of the practical things that I've talked about in the other videos that I've done, as well as things that you know as well as building up your own immune system. But here within this image, there are some codes that are really important, okay, that help heal us. We've got the gold, we've got the red, colours that seem to be very important. The red is linked into the base chakra, and the gold is linked to, I'm realising now what's gone on, because I've not channeled this before. Metatron is saying the red stands for the base chakra, the gold stands for the higher chakras. In the Metatron system, it would actually be the stellar gateway chakra. But we do know that corona means crown as well. So to be honest, what crowns you is the 3 higher chakras. So in this painting, we've basically got the red of the base, which is all our fears around, am I going to get it? Am I going to be okay? Am I healthy? Will I survive? The base chakra about is, will I survive? Base chakra is always about survival stuff, basic survival. And then we've got the gold, which is actually you're crowned by something that isn't necessarily, it isn't a virus, isn't about fear. It's linked into love, it's linked into remedy, it's linked into health, it's linked into your own immunity, it's linked into you as a powerful healer that can heal yourself, okay? So the red and gold are really important. And these circles, he's saying, link into the crowns. So they're almost like beautiful crowns. But I have to show you now the two paintings that were before this, because how did we get to that? And you would need to understand how we got to this. Let's go back to what Michael was just saying now about being indifferent to this situation in our midst. Not complacent, but just indifferent in terms of I'm not giving it power, okay? I'm not giving it any more power than I can muster. Doesn't mean that we won't go into fear a little bit, because we're human beings and human beings get frightened. But I'm not going to add to that fear by constantly reinforcing it. For example, by watching all of the news reports, by listening to worst case scenarios, okay? So the first painting that came through, and I'm not going to show this for very long, because I believe it actually shows the virus energy, okay? I have checked with Metatron that it's safe for you to see it. The reality is, and one of you said this, is that if you watch the news, they are all sitting behind these great big illustrations of the virus. I mean, Piers Morgan, who I watch in the morning on GMTV, he sat behind this great big throbbing, microbe, illustration of what the virus is, with coronavirus. He's sitting right behind it every day. That's not healthy, Piers, by the way, change that. But of course, we're watching these programs. You turn on your news, they're showing it, they're beaming it at you. You need to counter that, okay, which is what we've got here, okay? I've said to people, download this as a screensaver or just print it out, okay? I've put this on my community tab page on YouTube, so you can download it from there. And it's been shown on Facebook quite a few times as well, okay? So it's accessible. Anyway, this is the first image, okay? Now, to me, what's interesting about it is it felt quite, when I first looked at it, I don't know what you feel, I felt a few things going on. I felt it was quite reptilian in nature. When I say reptilian, we all have a reptilian brain, okay? We are all animals at the end of the day. So I'm not necessarily going on about Illuminati stuff or anything like that. But I also saw, I'm just going to put it down. I also saw within it a galactic energy that doesn't feel particularly loving, okay? And Ashtar has come in over the last month or so when I've been doing this work with you all, and he has implied, and I don't know whether I put this on a video or whether I just responded to somebody, that it was man-made, but that doesn't negate what I've said about animals and the lessons we need to learn about abuse of animals in my first video. But it was man-made in a lab, and that whoever did this, I want to just say, are the bad ETs. We're all extraterrestrials, by the way. Okay, we all have elements of space within us, as bonkers as that sounds to people that aren't awake. It's not even about being awake, it's basic science, actually. Just go and listen to Brian Cox. So these are bad ETs that have done this. But to correct it, there are many people on the planet who are light workers, who are good ETs, who are angelic, who are able to correct this in time. But it is something that's got out, okay? And now we're having to deal with the consequences of it. The other thing about it is that we are being asked to see the world through different eyes, okay? If you look at that, we're being asked to see the world through different eyes. And these different eyes that we're being asked to see the world through, although I'm not saying do it, but it's out there, is they're wanting us to look through the world in terms of fear. They're wanting us to look through the world in terms of panic. They're wanting us to look through the world in terms of death and destruction and disease, okay? It's like how interesting, 2020 vision, okay? 2020 vision. And here we've got 3 eyes. Well, actually, we've all got 3 eyes. We've got 2 eyes that you can see, and we've got the 3rd eye. But these 3 eyes, these 3 ways of looking at the world don't feel particularly friendly. But I needed to show you that because at the end of the day, unless you can face something, how the hell can you heal it? It's true, isn't it? It's a bit like, you know, if anybody is to become sick, which some of us will become sick, rather than sort of fleeing from the reality, which is that I might feel sick at the moment, it's about, okay, what can this sickness is here, what can this teach me? What can this teach me? What help do I need to receive? Can I open myself up to receive that help? Can I demonstrate my own ability to not go into panic, not go into fear, to be able to appreciate for maybe the first time in my life that my body is this amazing medicine chest in its own way, in terms of the fact that I have the ability to be able to heal myself. And we doubt that sometimes, particularly when the big things come in. It's like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly cure myself of this, or, you know, God forbid I get something else. But yet we live with people in our communities who do this already. Some of you that are watching me, I know, have done it themselves. You've been able to cure yourself of various things. Just on the thing about curing ourselves, I just wanted to mention one thing here. It's something that's personal to me, and so I can talk about it because I've got experience of this. And if it helps you, brilliant, because it's helping me at the moment. Which is one of the groups of people that are particularly, they're one of the high risk groups. In terms of if you get it, it might be a little bit more uncomfortable. Although I'm not wanting to put that out there, but it's just one of the facts from evidence and research that they've done on it so far, is that people with high blood pressure are need to watch it a little bit, okay? Well, I have high blood pressure. I've had high blood pressure for a while now. And the ironic thing was it was all completely and utterly under control. And then about 2 or 3 weeks before all this stuff with coronavirus came in, great timing, hey, it suddenly got really unstable again. So I am trying, obviously, to get it under control. Please don't send loads of links to the celery man, as I call him, okay? I know all about that. And I will deal with it in my own way, because my way, as well as celery, which yes, can be good, is meditation, okay? The power of meditation. And because I'm monitoring my blood pressure at the moment, when it's high, I know it's high because I can actually feel it. I feel dizzy or whatever, so I'm having to be very careful. I will take myself off and I will just do some meditation, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just trying to visualize myself somewhere peaceful, and I can literally see the blood pressure going down, you know, instantly. So never ever doubt the power of your mind to be able to take yourself into a place of healing, whether it be through visualization or through meditation. And that's just something like blood pressure, for example. I'm not saying to everybody that is the whole answer with regard to blood pressure, because it isn't. It's just one aspect. But at the moment, I'm sharing that with you because I'm going through this myself at the moment. And it's helping me to meditate a little bit more and visualize and try and take myself off into that place I need to go to, which is peaceful. And also to breathe, to remember to breathe, okay? Particularly if a lot of us are being asked to step up to the mark, okay? It isn't a case where some people can just go and lie in a darkened room for the next month, okay? A lot of us, myself included, have got a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people that are relying on them, and, you know, we just need to keep going. But it's that middle way, isn't it? It's about not panicking. It's about just trying to do whatever you can to bring yourself back into that aligned place, okay? Through prayer, through meditation, through visualization, through, you know, whatever modality works for you, as well, obviously, as other practical things. And also, I know damned well that there's a reason why my blood pressure went up just before all of this started happening, which is actually the There's no such thing as coincidences in my book. So rather than me thinking, oh my God, I'm in one of the high risk groups and, you know, I hope I don't get it, you know, no, I'm not going there. It's just, for me, this is an opportunity to think, okay, well, I'm in a high risk group. I'll put on the mask of indifference to that, because I'm not going to buy into that stream of consciousness that sort of wants to put a helmet of doom on me rather than a helmet of awakening to my own potential to be able to look after myself. Okay. Something inside so strong, Labi Sifri. Okay. Whatever it is. Oh yes, this is oh right, sorry. I've got a few things I want to say to you. Let me just finish off with the pictures. So I've shown you what I think is the virus, what that looks like. It obviously looks quite dark. It feels quite reptilian. It feels quite... I actually want to use the word alien here, okay? And I've said in the Ashtar video that Ashtar doesn't particularly like the word alien, because he says it's just something that's not familiar. But actually, this does feel a bit alien-like, you know, in terms of Sigourney Weaver and all that type of thing. It's not friendly. It's not a particularly friendly energy. But that's what's in our midst, because what is in our midst at the moment is not friendly, okay? It's not friendly. So let's at least have the ability to be able to look at it and not wince and pretend it's not there. Okay, we can wear our mask of indifference, but that's because it's saying, I'm not giving this power. I'm not giving this power. Not that I don't think it's there. I do think it's there. I know it's there. But I'm not going to allow that to enter into my consciousness. I told you there were 3 paintings. We end up here. Do you want to see what the middle one is? The middle one is quite interesting, and I'm not even sure what to say about it, so I'm just going to see what wants to come through. I wonder what colour you think it might be. What do you think the bridge colour might be from that very dark energy of the virus to the peaceful blue with our crowns of red and gold? By the way, big thank you to Jayne Tricker for doing these. And she, a bit like me, she had no option. She just literally had to down tools, not do any other work, and just bring these pictures through. And I think, bless her heart, I think she started one at 9 o'clock in the evening and she just kept going for a couple of days. That's when Metatron means something, he means something. So there's power in these images. I'm not just showing them to you for no reason. There's power in them. The energy is about taking you from that place A to A, B and C. And we end up with the healing energy. Anyway, the bridge energy is this. Have I got it the right way round? Yeah. So let me put that up. See what you feel as you look at that. What I felt as I looked at it was it felt very linked into... Okay, what I'm hearing now is it's actually linked into our immunity. It's linked into our immune system going to work. Okay, our immune system going to work. It also feels as though it links into the power of community. All of these little pieces, all of which look different, somehow working together to bring solution. Okay, the pink is obviously the colour of love. There's also a lot of magenta. Magenta is the colour of the bridge to the next level. Well, the bridge to the next level in this is how do we heal and how do we recover and how do we evolve from this. And by that, I'm talking about how do we move on from this being in our midst, okay? Getting this infection under control. So the colours magenta, pink and gold feel very important. It feels quite bridge-like, actually, as I'm looking at this with you now. This structure here feels quite like a bridge to me. I'm just seeing a bridge. It also is very hexagonal in shape. Lots of cubes within cubes. I have talked about in my last couple of videos the power of imagining the cube around you as a structure that helps to keep you safe, okay? And the cube, I mean the hexagon, the 6-sided cube. We've also got a pyramid structure here as well. So the pyramid coming in. The pyramid linked into a symbol of power. We've got some gold going up there. But more than anything, to me, this is an image and an energy which is about let's get to work. Let's get to work. Let's deal with this. Let's get to work. Let's assemble what needs to be assembled. Let's come together until we arrive at this. And I pulled some cards for each of those 3 stages, and I'm going to tell you what they are because they're quite interesting. I didn't know whether it would work or not, to be honest, but I shuffled the deck a couple of times and the same cards kept coming out for each painting. So I thought, oh, okay, there's something in this. Painting 1. The cards that came with that were the King of Swords and the Chariot. The King of Swords can be quite ruthless. The King of Swords also has some very positive attributes, of course. But obviously this situation is challenging, so I'm going to go for the flip sides of the King of Swords energy. So this is ruthless. It's a truth that you can't hide from, because even if you want to pretend it's not happening, it is happening. And it's a case of how do we then deal with that? And the other thing is it's spreading quickly. The Chariot is the energy of something moving very quickly. So this ruthless, quite cutthroat energy is moving quickly through our world. What happens when we introduce this next part of the journey? Cards I got for this were quite interesting. I got the 5 of Swords and the 3 of Cups. 5 of Swords is saying, okay, victory is possible, but equally at what cost? And the message coming through here is that you can't do it at all costs. You have to include everybody in the answer and in the solution. The 3 of Cups is usually the card which talks about reunion, people coming together, okay, working together, appreciating each other. It's a card of, it's a light card, it's usually a happy card, but I really feel that because the 2 of them come together, it is saying that for victory to come through, not at any cost, everybody has to be considered. Everybody has to work as one, okay? Everybody has to work as one. As a community, we have to come together and support each other, support the weaker members of our society, etc. And then this one, what we end up with, quite interesting cards that came with this as well. The card of Temperance, which is the card of patience, balance, I always want to say with Temperance as well. It's going to take a bit of time for this to all calm down in our world. That's just the truth of it. It's going to take a little bit of time for everything to calm back down. But have trust, have faith, okay? Have faith, have trust, have patience. 7 of Pentacles, the climb back to the light, okay? I honestly think that this is a huge reset energy for our world, and we are being forced to face some uncomfortable truths. Remember, we had the King of Swords, some uncomfortable truths. Going back to what I said earlier, the virus is showing who we are. There's some uncomfortable truths out there. Look at some of those people. How selfish. How ugly. But don't just project it out like, oh my God, they're selfish, they're ugly, they're behaving like that. Hopahona. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. Part of how they're behaving is part of how I can behave as well, okay? It's maybe how I have behaved in some moments. Remember what Christ was saying earlier, which is that if you can, in the midst of all this, try and hold on at least some of the time to the energy of love each other as I have loved you, unconditional love, you're doing well. Okay, the ascended masters, they're not expecting all of us to be saints with wings on our backs every minute of the day at the moment, because these are exceptional times and they're pushing us. And they're bringing up shadow, and they're bringing up ego, and they're triggering our base chakra wounding that many of us still have, which is that I might not be safe. Okay, so, but it's happening for a reason, because it's like this big reset. When we face ourselves and we face who we really are, and remember, we also face the best of who we are, okay, we can return back to the light. What do I mean by that? I just mean we turn back to a better way of being. What's that thing? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. You know, that piece of writing, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of reason, and it was the age of whatever. I can't remember. I haven't got it in front of me to read out to you, but that's a good passage. You know, the other thing that struck me today is, do you remember a year ago, we were probably all sitting here, and I think I made a video on it, but, you know, it wasn't a video in terms of, hey, look, the rainbow cloud is about to descend. Because I believe the event is something that is a rolling thing. You know, ascension is a rolling thing. But there was all that stuff, wasn't there, about the event that was supposed to be happening on a particular day. What if this is the event? This might be the event. What we're going through right now might be the event. But I thought the event was supposed to be marshmallow clouds and pink fluffy unicorns. Well, the event actually, what's happening now, if we say this could be the event, this has the ability, and the opportunity is huge for that wave of love to absolutely come rolling in, for you to be able to sink into the deepest compassion and be the best help you can be to your neighbour, to share what you have if you need to share it, to be there for each other, to show that you're not the person in the supermarket who's fighting over the last toilet roll, but you're actually the person who takes their toilet roll that they've got in their trolley and gives it to the little old lady standing beside you who can't get to the highest shelf where the last one is. You know, that's actually love in action. That is love in action. So I'm starting to wonder, I think this might very well be the event. But the thing is, we were just so fixated on the outcome of the event, i.e. love, people waking up to each other, waking up to the fact that we should appreciate our elders, as I've talked about in other videos, waking up to the power of animals, waking up to the amazing innocence and beauty of children, waking up to the fact we don't need so much, we don't need to keep going everywhere all the time. What we need is actually sometimes just at home. And if we can be at home with ourselves and we can love ourselves, that can change the whole bloody world. I think this is the event. Silence descends. Yeah. The other thing I've written down here is resourcefulness. It's a huge opportunity for us to show resourcefulness. In many different ways, okay? There's some article in the paper this morning about, I don't know how I don't know quite how they describe it. It's something like, I don't know what they call it. They're basically giving recipes that you can make with the sort of items that people are stocking up on, you know? There was something really disgusting, like a peanut butter curry or something. I don't know what it was. I was like, oh God, no. But no, in all seriousness, you know, we're going back to wartime, aren't we? And what people may do with. I'm not saying it is wartime, but, you know, I don't know what that is going on down there. It may well be that, you know, you can't get your whatever things that normally you put into your basket. Well, you know, so what? Go into the stock cupboard, get the basics out. Let's learn to cook again. Let's learn to bake. Let's go back to some more natural things and ways of living and ways of being. I think that was just laughter. I think it was laughter. I don't know if you heard it. It's like these screams, but I think they were actually happy screams. I think it was probably Bella and my youngest mucking about. Okay, I'm going to play a few notes on the crystal bowl and then I'm going to go, because I think that's it for today. Metatron's just giving us this guidance in bite-sized chunks. Going back to the best of us, you know, I'm sure you've all seen those beautiful, yeah, look at that, the best of us, the 10 of Cups. That's what we need. That's what we need to be working towards. Seeing ourselves as a happy family. Okay, the human race as one family underneath the rainbow. Is that a dream? John Lennon would say, no, it's not. Keep on going. Believe that that can happen. We're going to be stripped. Some of the things that we're reliant on are being stripped away. But there is just such an opportunity to learn a different mode of being. Reset. Reset. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, discounting the difficulty that's out there and particularly the financial hardships that are potentially out there for some people as well. I think with regard to businesses, there's some very difficult decisions going to be made for some businesses. And I really think we need to be supporting each other. But I think this is all part of it. You know, the person that potentially might get laid off, well, you know, can you help them out? I said to my husband just driving back in the car just now, we hadn't actually gone shopping, but I said next time we go to the shops, we must put some extra tins into the food bank. Because I hadn't done it, I'd forgotten to do it. For some reason, the food banks here, they're always stationed on the way out of a supermarket. And I just forget to add some extra items in. But again, now it's in my mind. It's like, no, I need to do that. I need to do that. Okay. Because actually there are some people that are going to be financially affected by this, not in a particularly great way. And so therefore we have to be supporting them any way we can, you know. It's back to basic stuff. If you make a nice casserole or spaghetti bolognese or something like that, and you've got somebody next door to you, take a portion into them. Right. Oh, thank God I wrote this down. I must tell you about my dream last night. This one has not got Donald Trump in it. It was a beautiful dream, actually. It was a beautiful dream. I've never had a dream like it before. I was on this beach. The beach was beautiful. The most amazing white sand, a bit like where Bob Marley took us to the other day, that sort of beach. But anyway, I find myself with my hands in the sand by the water's edge, and I'm clawing at the sand because I can see what I think is a most amazing piece of clear quartz. I mean, I'm talking that sort of big, you know, a big piece of clear quartz, and it's just jutting out of the sand, which has been buried. It's been buried, but the water's washed it away. I can just see this piece of large quartz. I think, oh, that looks lovely. I'm going to see what the quartz is. So I start to, you know, do this, get the sand away. And I think, it's not actually, this isn't quartz. What is it? What is it? So I keep doing it. And what it is a huge piece of red jasper. Red jasper. And I think actually this is carnelian that I'm wearing. One of you bought this for me. Hi, Melanie. Actually, Melanie, you bought me this as something to put on for when I'm standing in front of large groups of people, to give me a bit of power. And how interesting, I'm not actually standing in front of a lot of people, but there's a lot of people watching these videos. So I hadn't realised, but I've been wearing this a lot the last few days. Thank you. But anyway, red jasper. In the dream, it's red jasper. It's this great big chunk of red jasper. I lift it out, and it is the smoothest, most beautiful piece of red jasper you've ever seen in your life. It's got a texture like silk, you know, although obviously it's stone. So there must be something at the moment about using red jasper, and red jasper as a stone is very protective, okay? So I do think there's a message there in my dream for all of us to do with red jasper. What Metatron is saying is red jasper also outside your house, maybe by your front door. He's also saying maybe put a piece of red jasper in your car, okay? I'm very aware now when I'm going around that, like, if I go into a supermarket or something and you're touching all the trolleys, you know, everyone else has touched them, blah, blah, blah. I get in my car, put a little bit of hand sanitizer on before I touch the wheel, just so, you know, it's symbolic as well as actually effective. But I'm going to now put some red jasper in my car as well, okay? These are all just things to help us, because the point is, it isn't about, oh my God, I can't get it. You might get it. The point is, you don't want to be somebody that's then spreading it to somebody else, okay, who's got a more compromised immunity than you have. That's what we're doing here, okay? Because the vast majority of us are going to be absolutely fine if we do get it, but we've got to look out for the tribe. Right, let's end with, I was going to say a bit of music, but that might be overstating it a little bit. It's just me and my bowl. I think it's children playing outside. I don't think it's even my kids. I can just hear. Oh, of course it's children playing outside. Yeah, it's what I was saying. They're just playing outside on a trampoline. They're not my kids. That's what they're doing. You know, they're not overly worried. Oh, right, let's start. We're going to do 3 rounds of this, okay? And I would just like you to be thinking of this painting, which is our number 3 painting, as I make the sound, not the noise. Jayne has written on the back of this, I'll just say what her words are. The words that came through when she was painting this: held in light, held in grace, you are held, supported and nurtured. And she's written down community, courage, soul healing, light in the dark, hope in the face of difficulty, immunity, strength, transition. And she's written many in spirit came to support from many modalities. Yeah. Okay, ready? One more. Just going to see if I've got my drum beater. I'm done with that then. Okay. We'll see if, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll give it a go. Okay. Oh, how many of these are we going to do, Metatron? 11. Can you hear that? Seagulls and children laughing. Seagulls were one of my signs when Michael was around. Okay, much love. I better get on with my day. Take care, everybody. I'll be back and carrying on the teaching as and when these things that I'm meant to be saying to you all are meant to be heard. Love you all. Keep strong. Go and play that song. Something Inside So Strong, Labi Siffre. Fantastic. I'm going to do that now as well. Bye for now. Bye-bye.